Before we begin the story, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe. Enjoy the story. The conference room on the 42nd floor gleamed with floor-to-ceiling windows, the city sprawling beneath like a kingdom waiting to be conquered. Madison Clark stood at the head of the mahogany table, her laptop open, her presentation flawless. She'd spent 3 weeks preparing this pitch, poring over every detail, refining every slide. Her navy blazer was crisp, her dark hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail, and her voice steady as she addressed the room full of executives. But there was one person who hadn't looked up from his phone even once: Nathaniel Harrington, the billionaire CEO himself. Madison's jaw tightened. She'd heard the rumors about him. Cold, ruthless, impossible to impress. But she hadn't expected him to be this dismissive. She clicked to the next slide, her voice rising slightly to command attention. Our market analysis shows a 37% increase in consumer demand for sustainable packaging. If we pivot now, we can capture that demographic before our competitors even notice the shift. Finally, Nathaniel looked up. His steel blue eyes locked onto hers, sharp enough to cut glass. His face was all hard angles and controlled expression, the kind of face that never gave anything away. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed over his perfectly tailored charcoal suit. 37%, he repeated, his voice low and smooth, but laced with skepticism. And how much will this pivot cost us in the first quarter? Madison didn't miss a beat. 2.3 million. But the projected ROI within 18 months is... He raised a hand, cutting her off mid-sentence. Her blood boiled. Stop. Nathaniel stood, every inch of his 6'3" frame radiating authority. Miss Clark, I appreciate the effort, but this company doesn't chase trends. We set them. Sustainable packaging is a buzzword that'll be obsolete in 2 years. Madison's hands curled into fists at her sides. She forced herself to breathe, to stay professional. With all due respect, Mr. Harrington, consumer behavior data suggests otherwise. If we ignore this shift, we'll lose market share to competitors who are already. His eyes narrowed. Are you questioning my judgment? The room went silent. Every executive seemed to shrink into their chairs, avoiding eye contact. Madison knew she should back down. This was her first major presentation since joining Harrington Industries. One wrong move could end her career, but she didn't get where she was by staying silent. I'm questioning your refusal to look at the evidence, she said, her voice firm. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Nathaniel walked around the table, his footsteps deliberate, until he stood directly in front of her. He was close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and woodsy that made her pulse quicken despite her anger. You have a lot of nerve, he said quietly, his voice dangerous. Most people in this building are too afraid to even make eye contact with me. And yet here you are, a junior consultant, telling me I'm wrong. Madison lifted her chin. If being right means having nerve, then yes, I have plenty of it. Something flickered in his eyes. Amusement. Anger. She couldn't tell. The silence stretched between them like a wire pulled taut, ready to snap. Then Nathaniel did something she never expected. He smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It was the kind of smile a predator gives before it strikes. You're fired, he said simply. Madison's heart stopped. What? You heard me. Pack your things. Security will escort you out. Her shock morphed into fury. She stepped closer, her voice shaking with rage. You can't fire me for having an opinion. Actually, I can. I own this company. He turned to walk away, dismissing her entirely. That was the moment Madison snapped. She grabbed his arm, spinning him back around. The entire room gasped. Do you have any idea how hard I worked on this presentation? Do you know what I sacrificed to be here? And you won't even listen, Because your ego can't handle the possibility that someone else might be right. Nathaniel's jaw clenched. His eyes blazed. Let go of my arm. No, Madison shot back. Not until you... Her words cut off abruptly because Nathaniel moved faster than she could process. 1 second she was mid-sentence. The next, his hand was behind her neck, pulling her forward, and his mouth was on hers. The kiss was hard, commanding, and absolutely infuriating. Madison froze, her brain short-circuiting. Every nerve in her body lit up like fireworks. His lips were warm, demanding, and she hated that her traitorous heart was pounding for all the wrong reasons. Then reality crashed back. She shoved him hard, her palm connecting with his chest. He stumbled back a step, his eyes wide, as if he couldn't believe what he'd just done either. Madison's breathing was ragged, her face flushed. She could feel every pair of eyes in the room on them, and in that moment, she made a decision. She slapped him. The sound echoed through the silent conference room like a gunshot. Nathaniel's head snapped to the side, his hand rising slowly to his reddening cheek. Madison's voice was ice. Don't you ever touch me again. Then she grabbed her laptop, shoved it into her bag, and walked out of the conference room with her head held high, even though her hands were shaking and her lips still tingled from the kiss. Behind her, the room erupted into whispers. But Madison didn't look back. She'd just slapped a billionaire CEO in front of his entire executive team. Her career was over. So why did part of her feel so alive? Madison made it to the elevator before her knees started to shake. She jabbed the button repeatedly, her heart hammering against her ribs. What did I just do? The elevator doors slid open, and she stumbled inside, pressing herself against the back wall. As the doors began to close, a hand shot through, forcing them open. Nathaniel stepped inside. No, Madison said immediately, holding up a hand. Absolutely not. The doors closed behind him. They were alone. We need to talk, he said, his voice rough. Madison laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. Talk? You just kissed me to shut me up, and now you want to talk? I didn't. Nathaniel ran a hand through his dark hair, messing up his usually perfect appearance. That was completely out of line. I apologize. Oh, you apologize. Madison crossed her arms. How noble. Do you assault all your employees, or am I special? His jaw tightened. I didn't assault you. You grabbed my arm first. So kissing me was self-defense? Is that your legal strategy? The elevator descended in tense silence. Madison could feel the heat radiating off him, could still taste him on her lips. She hated it. Hated him. Hated that her body was betraying her with its reaction. Why did you do it? She asked quietly. Nathaniel was staring at the elevator numbers ticking down. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. Because you wouldn't stop talking and I couldn't think straight. Madison blinked. That's possibly the worst excuse I've ever heard. I know. He turned to face her, and for the first time, she saw something other than cold calculation in his eyes. She saw confusion, frustration, and something else she couldn't quite name. You've been working here for 3 months, he said. 3 months, and you've submitted 14 proposals. All of them brilliant. All of them challenging everything we do. Madison's breath caught. You've been reading my proposals, every single one. His gaze was intense, pinning her in place. You're the most frustrating person I've ever met, Miss Clark. You question everything. You refuse to back down. And you make me want to. The elevator dinged, announcing their arrival at the lobby. Nathaniel stopped mid-sentence. The doors opened. Madison should have walked out, should have left, and never looked back. Instead, she heard herself ask, "Want to what?" He stepped closer, his voice dropping to that dangerous low register that made her stomach flip. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed. She glanced down at the screen. It was her best friend. Sophie. Emergency. Need you now. Madison looked back up at Nathaniel. His expression had shifted back to that unreadable mask. I have to go, she said. Nathaniel nodded once. You're not fired. What? Consider it my apology. You're not fired. In fact, he pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. You'll receive an email tonight. A new contract. Double your current salary. Madison's eyes widened. You're promoting me after I slapped you? He almost smiled. I'm promoting you because you're right. About the sustainable packaging. About all of it. I've been too stubborn to admit it. This has to be a trap, Madison said suspiciously. It's not. His eyes met hers, and for a moment, she saw past the CEO facade to something raw underneath. I don't apologize often, Miss Clark, and I certainly don't kiss women in conference rooms. You bring out something in me that I don't understand. But I want to. Madison's phone buzzed again. Sophie, more insistent this time. I really have to go, Madison said, stepping out of the elevator. But Mr. Harrington? She looked back at him. Don't ever kiss me again without my permission. A real smile touched his lips this time, transforming his face entirely. Noted. Madison walked away, her heart racing, her mind spinning. She had no idea what had just happened or what it meant. All she knew was that everything had changed. Outside the building, Sophie was waiting in her car, engine running. Madison slid into the passenger seat. You look like you've seen a ghost, Sophie said, pulling into traffic. What happened? Madison touched her lips, still feeling the phantom pressure of Nathaniel's kiss. I think I just made either the biggest mistake of my life or the best decision ever. I can't tell which. Sophie grinned. This sounds like it requires wine and details. So many details. As they drove through the city, Madison's phone chimed. The email from Nathaniel. She opened it with trembling fingers. It wasn't just a new contract. It was a proposal to co-lead the Sustainable Packaging Initiative. With him. Directly. Which meant working side by side with the man who just kissed her senseless. Madison leaned her head back against the seat and closed her eyes. What have I gotten myself into? Sophie glanced over. Is that a rhetorical question, or do you actually want my opinion? Both, Madison admitted. Sophie laughed. Well, based on the look on your face, I'd say you've gotten yourself into something complicated, probably inappropriate, and definitely exciting. Madison couldn't argue with that. She read the email again, her thumb hovering over the reply button. She should decline, should transfer departments, should put as much distance between herself and Nathaniel Harrington as possible. Instead, she typed 2 words. I accept. She hit send before she could change her mind. Sophie caught the movement. What did you just do? Madison smiled, feeling reckless and alive in a way she hadn't in years. Something possibly very stupid. Sophie's eyes sparkled with mischief. Good. You've been playing it safe for too long. Madison wasn't sure if stupid and safe were mutually exclusive, but she was about to find out. Her phone chimed again. Another message from Nathaniel. 3 words this time. Monday, 8 a.m. Sharp. Madison's heart skipped. She replied. I'm never late. His response came immediately. We'll see about that. And despite everything, despite the chaos and confusion, and the fact that she'd slapped her boss in front of the entire executive team, Madison found herself smiling. This was either going to be a disaster or the beginning of something extraordinary. Possibly both. Monday morning arrived with rain hammering against Madison's apartment windows. She stood in front of her closet, already on her 3rd outfit choice, surrounded by discarded blazers and rejected blouses. This is ridiculous, she muttered, yanking off a gray suit jacket. You're not dressing to impress him. You're dressing to work." Her reflection in the mirror didn't look convinced. Finally, she settled on black pants, a crimson blouse, and her favorite blazer, the one that made her feel powerful. She pulled her hair back, applied minimal makeup, and grabbed her bag. If Nathaniel Harrington wanted to work with her, he'd get the professional, no-nonsense version, not the woman who'd let him kiss her. She arrived at Harrington Industries at 7:45, determined to beat him there. The executive floor was quiet, most employees not due until 9. Madison made her way to the office listed in Nathaniel's email, her heels clicking against marble floors. The door was already open. Nathaniel stood by the window, coffee in hand, looking out over the rain-soaked city. He'd ditched his usual tie, his white shirt unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms that had no business being that distracting. "You're early," he said without turning around. "So are you," Madison replied, setting her bag down on the glass desk. "Apparently neither of us follows our own schedules." He turned then, and Madison's breath caught. In the gray morning light, he looked different, less intimidating, almost human. "I wanted to talk before we start," he said. "About Friday." Madison's spine straightened. "If this is where you try to explain away what happened, I'm not explaining. I'm establishing boundaries." He set his coffee down, his movements deliberate. What happened in that conference room was unprofessional, completely inappropriate. It won't happen again. "Good," Madison said, even as a tiny, traitorous part of her felt disappointed. "We're colleagues now, nothing more." Nathaniel's eyes searched hers. "Nothing more," he agreed. But his voice carried a weight that suggested the words cost him something. They stood in silence for a moment, rain pattering against the windows. Then Madison pulled out her tablet, switching into work mode. "So, Sustainable Packaging Initiative. Where do we start?" Nathaniel's expression shifted to something like relief. He grabbed a folder from his desk. "I've been reviewing your original proposal. There are elements we need to refine, but the core concept is solid. We'll need to present to the board in 3 weeks." 3 weeks? Madison's eyes widened. "That's not much time. Which is why we'll be working closely." Very closely. Something in his tone made her pulse quicken. She ignored it. "Fine. But I have conditions." His eyebrow arched. "You're negotiating with me now." "Always," Madison said firmly. "First, my ideas don't get watered down to make the board comfortable. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. Second, I want creative control over the presentation. And third, if you ever kiss me again without permission, I'll do more than slap you." Nathaniel's lips twitched. "Noted." "And my conditions?" Madison crossed her arms. "I wasn't aware you had any." "I have one," he said, stepping closer. His voice dropped low. "If we're going to work together, you need to stop looking at me like that." "Like what?" Madison challenged, refusing to back down even though he was close enough that she could smell his cologne again. "Like you're trying to decide whether you want to slap me again or kiss me back." Madison's cheeks flushed hot. Am I wrong?" His eyes held hers, and Madison realized with horror that he wasn't wrong at all. She did want to kiss him back, had wanted to since Friday, but she'd rather die than admit it. "You're arrogant," she said instead. "Accurate," he agreed, but not an answer. Madison grabbed her tablet like a shield. "We should start working." "Yes," Nathaniel said softly. "We should." But he didn't move, and neither did she. The tension between them was thick enough to cut. Finally, Madison broke eye contact, busying herself with opening files. Over the next 3 hours, they fell into a rhythm. Nathaniel was brilliant, she had to admit. He saw angles she'd missed, asked questions that sharpened her thinking. They argued, yes, but it was productive arguing, the kind that made ideas better. Around 11, Madison's stomach growled loudly. Nathaniel glanced up from his laptop. "When did you last eat?" "Breakfast." "Yesterday." He frowned. "That's not breakfast. That's starvation." "I was busy," Madison said defensively. "Too busy to eat?" She shrugged. "I had things to do." Nathaniel closed his laptop with deliberate care. "We're taking a break." "No, we're on a deadline, I don't care." He stood, grabbing his jacket. "You're no good to this project if you pass out." "I'm not going to Madison." His voice was firm but not unkind. "Let me buy you lunch. It's not a date. It's basic human decency." She wanted to refuse on principle, but her stomach chose that moment to growl again, betraying her. "Fine," she conceded, "but somewhere quick. We have work to do." 20 minutes later, they were in a small Italian restaurant 3 blocks away. It was cozy, intimate even, with red checkered tablecloths and candles despite the afternoon hour. "This doesn't look quick," Madison observed suspiciously. "They have excellent pasta and fast service," Nathaniel replied, holding out her chair. "Trust me." "Trust you? The man who kissed me to win an argument?" That's not what his expression darkened. "That's not why I kissed you." "Then why did you?" The question hung between them. Nathaniel sat down across from her, his jaw working as if wrestling with words he couldn't quite say. "Because," he finally said. "In that moment, it was either kiss you or fall completely apart. And I don't fall apart." Madison's heart hammered. "That's not an answer. It's the only one I have right now." The waiter appeared, saving them from the charged moment. They ordered, Nathaniel choosing wine despite Madison's protest that they were working. "1 glass won't kill you," he said. "It might help us survive each other." Madison couldn't argue with that logic. When the wine arrived, she took a long sip, letting it warm her. "This is surreal," she said. 3 days ago, I was a junior consultant. Now I'm having lunch with you." Nathaniel swirled his wine, watching her. "Do you regret accepting the position?" "I don't know yet," Madison admitted. "Ask me again when we're not towing the line of whatever this is." "This?" He leaned forward slightly. "What do you think this is?" Madison met his gaze head-on. A very bad idea wrapped in good intentions. Nathaniel's slow smile was devastating. "I've built an empire on bad ideas." "Maybe that's the problem," Madison countered. "Maybe you need someone to tell you no. Is that what you're doing? Telling me no?" The question felt loaded with more than professional implications. Madison took another sip of wine, buying time. "I'm telling you that if we're going to work together, we need clear boundaries. No more impulsive kisses. No more whatever happened in the elevator." He studied her, his expression unreadable. "And if I said I don't want boundaries, then I'd say you don't get everything you want just because you're rich and powerful." Something flickered in his eyes. Respect, maybe. Or challenge accepted. Their food arrived, breaking the tension. They ate in companionable silence for a while, the rain still falling outside, creating a cocoon-like atmosphere. "Why did you become a consultant?" Nathaniel asked suddenly. Madison looked up, surprised by the personal question. "Why do you care?" "Because," Nathaniel said, setting down his fork, "I've read every proposal you've submitted. Each one shows someone who doesn't just want to make money. Someone who wants to make things better. I want to know why." Madison hesitated, her fingers tracing the rim of her wine glass. "My father worked in manufacturing his entire life. 40 years at the same factory. When I was 12, they downsized. He lost everything. His pension, his pride, his purpose." She took a breath, the memory still sharp. "I watched him fade after that. He couldn't find work because he was too old, too expensive, too specialized. The company didn't care that he'd given them his life. They just cared about their bottom line. Nathaniel listened without interrupting, his full attention on her. So I decided I'd get into the system, Madison continued. Learn how it works from the inside. Change it if I could. Her eyes met his. Make it so that companies remember there are real people behind the numbers. That's why I push so hard. Why I don't back down. Because my father couldn't afford to be heard. But I can. The silence that followed felt heavy with understanding. I'm sorry, Nathaniel said quietly. About your father. Madison shrugged, trying to appear unaffected, even though talking about it still hurt. He passed away 5 years ago. Never got to see me graduate or land this job. Sometimes I wonder if he'd be proud, or if he'd think I sold out by working for people like she stopped abruptly, realizing what she'd been about to say. People like me, Nathaniel finished for her. His voice held no anger, just resignation. Madison winced. I didn't mean you did, and you're not wrong. He leaned back, his expression distant. My father built this company from nothing. He was ruthless, calculating, and he taught me that sentiment was weakness, that caring about people made you vulnerable. Madison studied him. But you don't believe that. I didn't think I did, Nathaniel said. Then you walked into my company and challenged everything I thought I knew. You made me realize I've become exactly what my father was, someone who values profit over people. Madison's chest tightened. Is that why you really kissed me? Because I made you uncomfortable? He laughed, but it was hollow. No, Madison. I kissed you because for the first time in my life, someone made me feel something other than ambition. And it terrified me. The confession hung between them, raw and honest. Madison didn't know what to say. Didn't know if there was anything to say. We should get back, she finally managed. Yes, Nathaniel agreed, but neither of them moved. The rain had stopped, leaving the city washed clean outside the window. Madison could see their reflection in the glass, sitting across from each other like two people trying to figure out an impossible equation. When they finally returned to the office, the dynamic had shifted. They were still professional, still focused on work, but there was an undercurrent now, an awareness of each other that made every accidental brush of hands feel electric. By 6 p.m., they'd made significant progress on the presentation. Madison was gathering her things when Nathaniel spoke. This weekend, there's a gala, industry event. I need you to come with me. Madison froze. As your colleague? As my partner on this project, he clarified. We'll be presenting our initiative informally to potential investors. It's important. She turned to face him. Important for the project or important for you? Both, he admitted. These events are brutal. I usually attend alone and spend the entire night fielding questions about why I don't have a date. If you are there, we can deflect the personal questions and focus on business. Madison raised an eyebrow. So, I'm your buffer? You're very intelligent, very capable buffer, yes. She should say no, should maintain distance. But the way he was looking at her, like she was more than just a colleague, made her reckless. Fine, she said. But I'm not pretending to be anything I'm not. I wouldn't ask you to, Nathaniel replied. Just be yourself. That's more than enough. Madison left the office with her heart racing and her mind spinning. She'd agreed to attend a gala with Nathaniel Harrington, the same man who'd kissed her, promoted her, and was now systematically dismantling every wall she'd built around her heart. Sophie nearly dropped her phone when Madison told her. You said yes? To a gala? With him? It's for work, Madison insisted, even as her friend's skeptical expression said it all. Sure it is. And I'm the Queen of England. Sophie crossed her arms. Madison, he kissed you, then promoted you. Now he's taking you to a fancy party. This is not work. This is dating. It's not dating, Madison protested. We're presenting a business initiative. While wearing a ball gown and drinking champagne, Definitely not dating. Madison groaned, falling back on her couch. What am I doing, Soph? Playing with fire, Sophie said cheerfully. But honestly, it's about time. You've been so focused on your career that you forgot to live. Maybe this billionaire CEO is exactly what you need. Or exactly what will destroy me, Madison countered. Sophie sat beside her, her expression turning serious. Look, I get it. You're scared. Your last relationship ended badly, and you swore off powerful men. But Madison, not everyone is Derek. Some people are worth the risk. Madison wanted to believe that, but trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. Not when her heart was already treacherously invested in a man who probably collected and discarded women like business acquisitions. The week passed in a blur of work and stolen glances. Nathaniel was true to his word, keeping things professional. But there were moments when his hand lingered on hers during a presentation review, when she caught him staring at her with an expression she couldn't quite decipher. When they stayed late, working by lamplight, and the silence felt more intimate than any conversation. Friday arrived too quickly. Madison stood in front of her closet again, this time facing an actual crisis. She owned exactly 0 ball gowns. Sophie arrived with reinforcements, a garment bag, and determination. I borrowed this from my cousin, Sophie announced, unzipping the bag with a flourish. Madison's breath caught. The dress was stunning. Deep emerald green, with a fitted bodice and a skirt that flowed like water. It was elegant and bold, and absolutely not her. I can't wear that, Madison said immediately. That dress says I'm trying too hard. This dress, Sophie corrected, says you're confident and stunning. Which you are. Madison tried it on, and even she had to admit it fit perfectly. The color brought out her eyes. The cut accentuated curves she usually hid under blazers. You look incredible, Sophie breathed. He's going to lose his mind. That's not the goal, Madison reminded her. The goal is business. Sophie just smiled knowingly. At 7:30, Madison's doorbell rang. She opened it to find Nathaniel in a classic black tuxedo, looking like he'd stepped out of a magazine. But it was the way he looked at her, his eyes widening, his breath visibly catching, that made her feel beautiful. You look, he started, then stopped, cleared his throat. You look breathtaking. It's just a dress, Madison said, grabbing her clutch to hide her trembling hands. It's not just a dress, Nathaniel replied quietly. And you're not just anything, Madison. The car ride to the gala was filled with last-minute strategy discussions, both of them using work as a shield against the tension crackling between them. But when they arrived and Nathaniel offered his arm, Madison took it, and something shifted. They stepped into the ballroom together, and for better or worse, there was no going back. The gala was held in a historic hotel, all gilded columns and crystal chandeliers. The ballroom glittered with Manhattan's elite, women in designer gowns, men in tailored tuxedos, champagne flowing like water. Madison felt Nathaniel's hand at the small of her back, warm and steady, as they navigated through the crowd. She could feel eyes turning toward them, whispers following in their wake. Is that Nathaniel Harrington? I heard he never brings dates. Who is she? Madison lifted her chin, refusing to be intimidated. She'd faced boardrooms full of hostile executives. She could handle a party. Mr. Harrington, a silver-haired man, approached, his smile too wide. Good to see you. And who is this lovely creature? Madison Clark, Nathaniel said smoothly. My partner on our new sustainable initiative. She's brilliant. The man's eyes assessed her with barely concealed skepticism. Partner? How progressive of you, Nathaniel. Madison extended her hand, her grip firm. Nice to meet you, Mr. Westbrook, the man supplied. I run Westbrook Industries. Madison's mind clicked through her research. Your company specializes in traditional manufacturing, correct? Recently had some challenges with environmental regulations? Westbrook's smile faltered. We've managed those challenges adequately, by paying fines instead of updating your processes. Madison's tone was pleasant, but her words were sharp. Nathaniel mentioned your company lost 2 major contracts last quarter to competitors offering greener alternatives. Perhaps we should discuss how our initiative could help you stay relevant. Westbrook's face reddened. Now see here, excuse us, Nathaniel interjected, steering Madison away with barely suppressed amusement. That was diplomatic, he murmured near her ear. You told me to be myself, Madison replied. I don't do fake. His low chuckle sent shivers down her spine. Apparently not. They spent the next hour circulating, and Madison discovered she was actually good at this. She could read people, find their weak points, pivot conversations toward their initiative. Nathaniel stayed close, occasionally adding input, but mostly watching her work with something like pride in his eyes. Then the music started. Couples drifted toward the dance floor, and Madison felt her stomach tighten. Dance with me, Nathaniel said, as if reading her mind. It wasn't really a question. I don't dance, Madison lied. Everyone dances, he replied, already leading her toward the floor. She wanted to protest, but his hand was already taking hers, his other settling at her waist, and then they were moving. Nathaniel was an excellent dancer, confident and smooth, guiding her effortlessly through the steps. Madison tried to focus on not stepping on his feet, but it was impossible to ignore how perfectly they fit together. You're tense, he observed. I'm trying not to embarrass us both, she shot back. Impossible, he said. You could never embarrass me. Their eyes met, and Madison's breath caught at the intensity there. The ballroom seemed to fade away, the music becoming distant. All she could feel was his hand at her waist, his thumb brushing small circles that sent heat through the fabric of her dress. Why are you looking at me like that? She whispered. Like what? Like you're trying to memorize me. Because I am, Nathaniel admitted, in case you disappear. I'm not going anywhere, Madison said, then realized how that sounded. I mean, we have 3 weeks until the presentation. I know what you meant, but his voice dropped lower. But I'm hoping you'll stay longer than 3 weeks. Madison's heart hammered. We agreed on boundaries. We did, he acknowledged. But right now, in this moment, I'm finding it very difficult to remember why. The song ended. They stopped moving but didn't separate. Around them, couples broke apart, but Nathaniel's hand stayed on her waist, Madison's on his shoulders. I need air, Madison said abruptly, pulling away. She wove through the crowd toward the terrace, her pulse racing. Outside, the night was cool, New York's lights spreading below like fallen stars. Madison gripped the stone railing, trying to steady herself. You ran. Nathaniel's voice came from behind her. I needed space, she corrected, not turning around. His footsteps approached until he stood beside her, close but not touching. Did I push too hard? Madison laughed shakily. You kissed me to shut me up, promoted me, made me your partner, and now we're at a gala where you're looking at me like I'm more than just a colleague. Yes, you're pushing too hard. But she turned to face him, and her next words surprised even herself. And I'm terrified because I want you to. Nathaniel's expression shifted, something raw breaking through his controlled facade. Madison, you need to understand something, she cut him off. I don't do casual. I don't do games. If this, whatever this is just entertainment for you, tell me now so I can protect myself. It's not, he said fiercely. God, Madison, it's not. I haven't felt this off balance since. He stopped, running a hand through his hair. Since ever. I don't know what you're doing to me, but every time I'm near you, I forget how to be the person I've spent my life becoming." "Then who are you?" Madison asked softly. Nathaniel looked at her, and for the first time, she saw past the CEO mask to someone younger, more uncertain. "I don't know," he admitted. "But with you, I think I want to find out." Madison's breath caught. This was dangerous territory. This was exactly what she'd promised herself to avoid. And yet, she stepped closer. "If we do this, there are rules." "Rules," Nathaniel repeated, his lips quirking. "You love your conditions, don't you?" "I'm serious," Madison insisted. "First, work stays work. We don't let personal feelings compromise the project." "Agreed." "Second, honesty. Always, even when it's uncomfortable." "Especially when it's uncomfortable," Nathaniel amended. "Agreed." "And third," Madison hesitated, "if either of us wants to stop, we stop. No questions, no hard feelings." Nathaniel's hand came up to cup her cheek, his thumb brushing her skin. "Agreed. Though I should warn you, I'm very bad at stopping once I've decided I want something." "And you've decided you want me?" she challenged. "I decided that the moment you grabbed my arm in the conference room," he said. "Maybe even before that. When you submitted your first proposal, and I realized someone finally saw past the empire to the actual problems. You made me want to be better. Madison, you make me want to be someone worthy of the way you see the world." The confession undid her. Before she could overthink it, before doubt could creep in, Madison rose on her toes and kissed him. This time, it wasn't angry or impulsive. It was deliberate. A choice. Nathaniel froze for half a second. Then his arms came around her, pulling her close as he kissed her back with a hunger that stole her breath. The world tilted. Madison's hands fisted in his jacket, anchoring herself as he deepened the kiss. He tasted like champagne and possibility, and she couldn't get enough. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Nathaniel rested his forehead against hers. "That," he said, his voice rough, "was much better than the first time." Madison laughed breathlessly. Low bar, considering the first time was assault. It was not. "I'm teasing," she said, pulling back slightly to look at him. "But you're right. This was definitely better." "Because you wanted it," he said. "It wasn't a question." "Because I chose it," Madison corrected. "There's a difference." Nathaniel's expression softened in a way she'd never seen before. "Come home with me." Madison's heart stuttered. "Nathaniel." "Just to talk," he added quickly. "I have wine. A view better than this. And no one interrupting us every 5 minutes. We can discuss the project, plan our strategy. Just us." Madison knew she should say no. Knew that going to his place would cross a line they couldn't uncross. But when she looked into his eyes and saw genuine hope there, not just desire, she found herself nodding. "Okay, but if this is a trick to seduce me, I'm stealing all your wine and leaving." "Deal," he said with that devastating half-smile. 30 minutes later, they arrived at his penthouse. Madison had expected opulence, but the reality still took her breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Central Park. The furniture was modern but comfortable, and original artwork lined the walls. "Wow," she breathed. This is excessive," Nathaniel finished, shrugging off his jacket. "I know. My father believed in displaying wealth. I've never gotten around to changing it." Madison walked to the windows, looking out over the glittering city. "It's beautiful," she said, "but it feels lonely." Nathaniel appeared beside her with 2 glasses of wine. "It is lonely. This apartment is 3,500 square feet. I'm usually the only person here. Most nights I fall asleep at my desk because going home to all this emptiness feels worse than working." Madison accepted the wine, her chest tightening at the vulnerability in his admission. "Is that why you work so much?" To avoid the silence. Partly, he said. Also because for a long time work was all I had, all I understood. His eyes met hers. Until you. Madison's breath caught. You can't just say things like that. Why not? It's true. Because, she gestured helplessly. Because it makes it very hard to keep my walls up. Good, Nathaniel said softly. I'm tired of walls, Madison. Yours and mine. They stood in silence, sipping wine, the city lights twinkling below. Finally, Madison asked the question that had been nagging her since the gala. Why did you really promote me? I told you. You were right about the initiative. That's not the whole truth, though, is it? Nathaniel was quiet for a long moment. Then he set down his wineglass and turned to face her fully. No, he admitted. The truth is, I promoted you because I needed a reason to keep you close. Working together gave me that without having to examine why I wanted it. Madison's hand trembled slightly as she set down her own glass. That's not very professional, Mr. Harrington. Nothing about what I feel for you is professional, Miss Clark. The air between them charged with electricity. Madison knew she should leave, should maintain boundaries, should protect her heart. Instead, she asked, "What do you feel?" Nathaniel stepped closer. Terrified, he said, exhilarated, off balance, like I'm standing at the edge of something that could either destroy me or save me. His hand came up to cup her face. When I'm with you, I forget to be the cold CEO. I forget to calculate and strategize. I just feel. And it's been so long since I've let myself feel anything that it's overwhelming. Madison's eyes stung with unexpected tears. I'm scared too, she whispered. Scared that you'll realize I'm not special. That I'm just another woman, and you'll get bored, and I'll be left broken. Nathaniel's thumb brushed away a tear that had escaped. Madison Clark. Boring. Impossible. You've challenged me, infuriated me, and made me question everything in the span of a week. You make me want to be better. Do better. How could I ever get bored with that? Maybe because every relationship I've ever had has ended with me not being enough, Madison confessed, the words spilling out. My ex, Derek, he was successful, powerful like you. At first he said he loved my ambition. Then slowly it became too much. I worked too much, cared too much, wanted too much. Eventually he left me for someone who was content to be arm candy instead of a partner. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. Then he was an idiot who didn't deserve you. Anyone who wants you to be less than you are isn't worth your time. Easy to say, Madison replied. Harder to believe after someone systematically dismantles your confidence. Look at me, Nathaniel commanded gently. She did, meeting his intense gaze. I am not Derek. I don't want arm candy or someone who agrees with everything I say. I want someone who challenges me, pushes me, makes me earn their respect every single day. I want you, Madison, exactly as you are. The words broke something open inside her. Before she could overthink it, she closed the distance between them and kissed him again. This time, there was no hesitation, no holding back. Nathaniel responded immediately, his arms wrapping around her waist, pulling her flush against him. The kiss deepened, urgent and desperate, weeks of tension finally finding release. Madison's hand slid into his hair, and she heard his sharp intake of breath. They stumbled backward toward the couch, never breaking apart. When the back of Nathaniel's legs hit the furniture, he sat, pulling Madison down to straddle his lap. The new position made her gasp, and he took advantage, his mouth trailing from her lips to her jaw, to the sensitive spot below her ear. Madison, he murmured against her skin. If you want to stop, tell me now, because if this goes much further, I won't be able to. She pulled back just enough to meet his eyes, her pupils blown wide, lips swollen from kissing. "I don't want to stop," she said, "but I need you to promise me something." "Anything," he said, and she believed he meant it. "Promise that tomorrow, when we're back to work, you won't treat this as a mistake, that you won't regret this or avoid me or make it awkward." Nathaniel's hands came up to frame her face. "I promise that tomorrow and every day after, I will still want you exactly this much. This isn't a mistake, Madison. This is the first right thing I've done in longer than I can remember." Madison searched his face, looking for doubt or deception, found only sincerity and desire so intense it took her breath away. "Okay," she whispered. Then she kissed him again, surrendering to the pull between them that had been inevitable from the moment they met. Madison woke to unfamiliar sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and a moment of disorientation before the previous night came flooding back. She was in Nathaniel's bed, wrapped in impossibly soft sheets, wearing his shirt. Oh, God. She sat up carefully, her heart racing. Nathaniel wasn't beside her. For one terrible moment, panic seized her, all her old insecurities flooding back. He regretted it. He was gone. This was a mistake. Then she heard movement from the kitchen, the clink of dishes, and smelled coffee. Madison exhaled shakily, pressing a hand to her chest. "Get it together, Clark." She found her dress from last night draped carefully over a chair, her heels placed neatly beside it. The consideration in that small gesture made her chest warm. She padded barefoot toward the kitchen, Nathaniel's shirt falling to mid-thigh. He stood at the counter, back to her, wearing pajama pants slung low on his hips and nothing else. Madison's mouth went dry at the sight of his bare shoulders, the play of muscles as he moved. "Morning," she said softly. Nathaniel turned, and his expression when he saw her, soft and unguarded, and so clearly pleased, banished the last of her fears. "Morning," he replied, his voice still rough from sleep. "Coffee?" "Please," Madison said, sliding onto a bar stool. She probably should feel awkward right now, but somehow she didn't. Nathaniel poured 2 mugs, sliding one across to her. "I wasn't sure how you'd take it, so I made it strong and black." "We have that in common," Madison said, wrapping her hands around the warm mug. Besides the obvious, Nathaniel's lips quirked. "What obvious?" Madison felt her cheeks heat. "You know what?" He set down his coffee and moved around the counter until he stood in front of her. His hands came to rest on the counter on either side of her, caging her in without touching. "Say it," he challenged gently. "Why are you making this difficult?" Madison complained. "Because I want to hear you acknowledge it. Last night happened. We slept together. And I want to make sure you're not regretting it in the harsh light of morning." Madison met his eyes. "Are you? Regretting it?" "Not even a little," Nathaniel said. "But I know how doubt works. I know how easy it is to let fear convince you that something good is actually dangerous. So tell me where your head is." Madison took a breath. "I'm terrified," she admitted. "Terrified that this is moving too fast. That I'm falling for you, and you're going to break my heart. That Monday we'll go back to work and realize we've made everything impossibly complicated." But she reached up, touching his face. "I'm also happy. Happier than I've been in a long time. And I don't want to run away from that just because it's scary." Nathaniel turned his head, pressing a kiss to her palm. "Monday," he said, "we'll be fine. We'll go to work, we'll be professional, and then I'll spend the entire day counting the hours until I can be alone with you again." "That sounds," Madison stopped. "Wait, is that healthy?" "Probably not," he admitted cheerfully. "But I don't care." She laughed, the sound bright and genuine. "How are you this relaxed? Yesterday you were all intense, CEO. Today you're making jokes and breakfast." "That's what you do to me," Nathaniel said. You make me remember I'm human. They spent the morning together, a lazy weekend morning that felt both surreal and perfectly natural. Nathaniel made breakfast while Madison sat at the counter, stealing pieces of fruit and telling him stories about her disastrous college years. "You're telling me," Nathaniel said incredulously, "that you once hacked into the university's grading system to fix a mistake?" "I didn't hack," Madison corrected. "I simply noticed a vulnerability in their security and brought it to their attention. After using it to fix your grade." "It was the professor's error," Madison defended. "He'd inputted the wrong score. I was just correcting an injustice." Nathaniel shook his head, grinning. "You're going to be the death of my carefully cultivated reputation." "I fight for what's right," Madison shrugged. "Always have." He served eggs and toast, joining her at the counter. "It's one of the things I admire most about you. You have a moral compass that doesn't waver. That must be exhausting sometimes." "It is," Madison admitted. "But I watched my father lose his fight. Someone has to keep fighting." They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Then Nathaniel asked, "What was he like?" "Your father?" Madison smiled, the expression bittersweet. "Stubborn. Principled. He believed in honest work and doing things right, even when it was harder." She paused, her eyes distant. After he lost his job, he applied to hundreds of places. Every rejection broke him a little more. By the end, he couldn't even look at himself in the mirror. I made him a promise at his funeral that I'd never let what happened to him happen to anyone else if I could help it. "That's why you push so hard," Nathaniel said. "Why you don't back down. It's not just about the work, it's about him." Madison nodded, her throat tight. "Every proposal I write, every battle I fight, it's for him." So he didn't sacrifice everything for nothing. Nathaniel reached across, taking her hand. "He'd be incredibly proud of you, Madison. Anyone would be." The sincerity in his voice made tears prick her eyes. She blinked them back, squeezing his hand. "Thank you." They spent the rest of the day together, talking and laughing, watching a movie neither of them paid attention to because they were too busy talking over it. It felt easy, natural, like they'd been doing this for years instead of hours. But as evening approached, reality crept back in. "I should go home," Madison said reluctantly. "I need to prep for Monday." "Stay," Nathaniel countered. "We can prep together. Then you won't have to leave." Madison wanted to. God, she wanted to. But some instinct warned her not to dive in too deep too fast. "I need some space to think," she said honestly. "Not about us, just to process everything." Nathaniel looked disappointed, but nodded. "I understand. Let me drive you." In the car, Nathaniel's hand found hers, their fingers intertwining. "Monday," he said. "We present a united front, professional but authentic. We don't hide, but we don't make it a spectacle." "Agreed," Madison said, "though people are going to talk regardless." "Let them," Nathaniel replied. "I've spent my entire life worrying about appearances. I'm done with that." He pulled up outside her apartment, turning to face her. "Madison." "This weekend," she interrupted, "was amazing. Terrifying and amazing." But she hesitated. "But I need us to make sure we're not getting lost in the rush, that this is real and not just adrenaline and attraction." Nathaniel cupped her face. "It's real, Madison. At least for me. What we have, it's not something I've felt before." "I need time to catch up to where you are," she said softly. "Emotionally. Can you give me that?" He studied her face, then nodded slowly. "Take the time you need. But know that I'll be here, waiting." She kissed him, soft and sweet. "Thank you." That night, alone in her apartment, Madison sat on her couch with a glass of wine, Sophie on FaceTime. "So?" Sophie said, eyes gleaming. "How was it?" Madison couldn't stop the smile that spread across her face. It was perfect. Everything I didn't know I needed. Sophie squealed. I knew it. I knew he was into you. It's not just physical, though, Madison said. We talked, really talked, about my dad, his loneliness, our fears. He's not who I thought he was, Soph. He's complicated and damaged and trying so hard to be better. That's beautiful, Madison. So what's the problem? I'm falling for him, Madison admitted. Really falling. And it terrifies me because I don't know if I can survive being broken again. Then don't think about the ending, Sophie advised. Think about right now. Is he making you happy right now? Yes, Madison said without hesitation. Then that's enough. Let tomorrow worry about itself. Madison went to bed that night with Nathaniel's shirt still on and his scent surrounding her. She fell asleep smiling, hopeful for the first time in years that maybe, just maybe, this would be different. Monday morning arrived too fast and brought complications Madison hadn't anticipated. She'd barely stepped off the elevator when she noticed the stairs. Whispers followed her down the hall. By the time she reached her new office, the one adjacent to Nathaniel's, she knew something was wrong. Her computer screen showed it immediately. An email from HR marked urgent. A meeting scheduled for 9 a.m. And beneath that, a string of messages from colleagues she barely knew. Some supportive, most merely curious. Then she saw the article. Someone had leaked photos from the gala. Madison and Nathaniel dancing, standing close on the terrace, getting into his car together. The headline made her stomach drop. Harrington's new conquest. CEO mixes business with pleasure. The article was savage, painting her as an opportunistic social climber who'd seduced her way into a promotion. It questioned her qualifications, implied the sustainable initiative was a vanity project to keep his latest girlfriend happy, and suggested Nathaniel was having a midlife crisis. Madison's hands shook as she read. Every fear she'd had about this relationship was being validated by strangers on the internet. A knock on her door made her jump. Nathaniel entered, his face stormy. I saw it, he said without preamble. It's character assassination and I'm handling it. How? Madison asked, trying to keep her voice steady. By releasing a statement, having legal send cease and desist letters, and making it clear that you're a brilliant consultant who earned her position through merit, not through sleeping with you. Madison finished bitterly. That's what everyone's thinking. Let them think what they want, Nathaniel said firmly. We know the truth. But Madison could see the worry in his eyes, the calculation. He was already strategizing damage control. This is exactly what I was afraid of, she said quietly. That being with you would make people question my competence, that I'd become just another woman in a billionaire's orbit instead of a professional in my own right. Madison, no one who matters will think that. Everyone matters, she countered. Every employee here, every client, every investor. If they think I'm just your girlfriend playing businesswoman, our entire initiative loses credibility. Then we prove them wrong, Nathaniel said. We present the project, show them your expertise, and make it impossible to dismiss you. A sharp knock interrupted them. Victoria Chen, Harrington Industries' head of PR, swept in without waiting for permission. Her expression was grim. We need to talk, she said. Both of you. Now. In Nathaniel's office, Victoria laid out a folder full of printed screenshots. The story's spreading, she said bluntly. Twitter, LinkedIn, industry blogs. Everyone's talking about it. Madison's past relationship is being dug up. Derek's giving interviews. Madison's heart stopped. What? Apparently your ex has no problem throwing you under the bus, Victoria said. He's confirming that you've always been, quote, ambitious and willing to do whatever it takes to climb the ladder. The room spun. Derek. Of course it was Derek. He'd never forgiven her for leaving him, for refusing to be diminished. That's defamation, Nathaniel growled. We can sue. Legal action will make it worse, Victoria interrupted. It'll look like you're trying to silence legitimate concerns. The only way through this is to address it head on. She turned to Madison. I need you to give me something. A statement, an interview, anything that humanizes you and establishes your credentials independently of Nathaniel. Madison's throat was tight. What if I don't want to be part of the media circus? Then the circus happens without you, and you lose control of the narrative, Victoria said. Not unkindly, but firmly. Right now, you're a mystery. People are filling in the blanks with the worst possible assumptions. Give them the truth, and they'll have less room to speculate. I'll do it, Madison heard herself say. But on my terms. I want to talk about the sustainable initiative, my background, why this project matters. Not my relationship with Nathaniel. That's private. Victoria considered. I can work with that. But understand, they will ask about him. You'll need to have an answer ready. Madison glanced at Nathaniel. His expression was unreadable, but she saw the tension in his shoulders. We're colleagues who respect each other, Madison said. That's the answer. Everything else is no one's business. After Victoria left, Nathaniel moved to the window, his back to Madison. I'm sorry, he said quietly. Sorry that being with me has brought this down on you. I should have anticipated it. There's no anticipating human cruelty, Madison replied. She joined him at the window. But Nathaniel, if this doesn't stop, if it keeps affecting the project. She trailed off, unable to finish the thought. If it keeps affecting the project? What? He asked, turning to face her. You'll what? Walk away. Madison's eyes stung. I don't want to. But I also won't let my personal life destroy something I believe in. If the initiative fails because of us, then we make sure it doesn't fail, Nathaniel said fiercely. We work harder, present better, prove that this has nothing to do with our relationship and everything to do with good business. The interview was scheduled for Wednesday. 2 days to prepare, 2 days of watching the internet dissect her life while trying to focus on work. Madison barely slept. When she did, she dreamed of standing in front of crowds who laughed at her credentials and whispered about Nathaniel. Tuesday evening, she was still at the office, rehearsing answers to anticipated questions when Nathaniel found her. Go home, he said gently. You're exhausted. I need to be ready, Madison insisted. I can't give them any ammunition. Madison, he knelt beside her chair. You're already ready. You're the most prepared person I've ever met. But running yourself into the ground won't help. She looked at him, this man who'd somehow become central to her life in the span of weeks. What if I mess this up? What if I say something wrong and prove them right? Then I'll still believe in you, Nathaniel said. Your worth isn't determined by public opinion or some interview. You're brilliant, Madison. That's fact, not perception. His faith in her, unwavering and absolute, made her want to cry. How do you do that? She whispered. Do what? Make me feel like I can handle anything when inside I'm falling apart. Because you can handle anything, he replied. I've watched you do it. You took on a room full of executives, challenged a billionaire CEO, and refused to back down even when it meant risking everything. This interview? It's nothing compared to what you've already survived. Madison kissed him, needing the connection, the reminder that whatever happened, she wasn't alone. The interview took place in a sleek studio downtown, all modern furniture and intimidating camera equipment. The journalist, Rebecca Torres, was known for her sharp questioning and refusal to accept corporate spin. Madison sat across from her, hands clasped in her lap to hide their trembling, and reminded herself to breathe. Rebecca started easy, asking about Madison's background, her education, her work history. Madison answered clearly, emphasizing her years of experience, the proposals she'd written, the results she'd achieved. Then Rebecca leaned forward. Let's address what everyone's really curious about. Your relationship with Nathaniel Harrington. Did it influence your promotion? My promotion, Madison said firmly, was based on merit. I submitted a comprehensive proposal for sustainable packaging that projected significant ROI. Harrington recognized the value in that proposal. Our personal relationship developed later. But you are in a relationship, Rebecca pressed. Yes, Madison admitted. We're seeing each other. But that doesn't diminish my qualifications or the validity of the initiative. Some might argue it creates a conflict of interest, working closely with someone you're romantically involved with. Some might argue that judging a woman's professional competence based on her personal life is sexist, Madison countered. No one questions male executives who hire their fraternity brothers or golf partners. But a woman dates her colleague and suddenly her entire career is suspect? Rebecca's eyebrows rose, but Madison saw approval flicker in her expression. Your ex-boyfriend gave an interview suggesting you've always been overly ambitious. Ambitious, Madison repeated. That's the word men use when they want to criticize a woman for wanting success. My ex couldn't handle that I prioritized my career. He wanted someone who would make him the center of her universe. When I refused to shrink myself to make him comfortable, he left. And now he's trying to punish me for it. And Nathaniel Harrington doesn't mind your ambition. Nathaniel, Madison said, and couldn't help the softness that crept into her voice. Encourages it. He challenges me to be better, to think bigger. That's what a real partner does. They don't diminish you, they elevate you. The interview continued, but Madison felt the shift. Rebecca's questions became more collaborative, less adversarial. By the end, Madison had laid out the entire sustainable initiative, explained the market research, projected the financial benefits. She'd made it impossible to dismiss her as just a pretty face or a social climber. When it aired that evening, the response was immediate. Social media lit up, but this time the tone was different. Women praising Madison's refusal to apologize. Industry professionals commenting on the solid business case she'd presented. Even some of the earlier critics admitting they'd judged too quickly. Madison watched it in Nathaniel's office, her heart in her throat. That was incredible, he said when it finished. You didn't just defend yourself. You went on offense. Did I come across as too aggressive? Madison worried. Some of those answers were pretty blunt. You came across as confident and competent, Nathaniel assured her. Exactly as you should. His phone buzzed, then again, and again. He glanced at the screen and smiled. The board. They're impressed. 3 members just emailed saying they want to hear more about the initiative. Madison felt relief wash over her, so intense she had to sit down. It worked, she breathed. It actually worked. Did you doubt it would? Nathaniel asked. Yes, Madison admitted. I thought I'd ruined everything. That being with you would destroy my credibility. Instead, you proved that you're more than capable of standing on your own, he finished. And that anyone who underestimates you is a fool. They celebrated with takeout from Madison's favorite Chinese place, eating straight from the containers in Nathaniel's office like college students instead of corporate executives. This is nice, Madison said, stealing a piece of his Kung Pao chicken. What is? This. She gestured between them. Being normal. Not worrying about appearances or what people think. Just being us. Nathaniel caught her hand, bringing it to his lips. I wish we could do this all the time. Just be us without the world watching. Maybe we can, Madison said. Not here, not in public. But in private, we can be whoever we want. He studied her. And who do you want to be? Madison thought about it. Someone who's allowed to be both ambitious and in love, she said. Someone who doesn't have to choose between career and relationship. Someone who can have it all without apology. Then that's who you'll be, Nathaniel said. I promise. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Madison and Nathaniel worked tirelessly on the presentation, refining every detail. The board meeting was scheduled for Friday, and everything was riding on it. But outside work, they carved out moments just for them. Quiet dinners at Madison's apartment, morning coffee at Nathaniel's before heading to the office together, stolen kisses in empty conference rooms. It felt like living two lives, and Madison was surprised to find she loved both. Then, 3 days before the presentation, everything fell apart. Madison was reviewing financial projections when her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, Miss Clark. This is Detective Morrison with the NYPD. I need you to come down to the station. There's been an incident involving Nathaniel Harrington. Madison's blood ran cold. What kind of incident? Is he okay? He's fine, the detective assured her. But we need to speak with you about allegations that have been made. Allegations? What allegations? I'd rather discuss this in person. Can you come down this afternoon? Madison's hands shook as she grabbed her coat. She tried calling Nathaniel. It went straight to voicemail. She tried his assistant. Unavailable. Panic clawed at her throat as she took a cab to the police station, her mind racing through terrible possibilities. At the station, Detective Morrison led her to a small interview room. Sit down, Miss Clark. Madison sat, her heart hammering. What's going on? Where's Nathaniel? Mr. Harrington is being questioned in relation to allegations of fraud and embezzlement, the detective said, specifically regarding funds allocated to the Sustainable Packaging Initiative. Madison felt like she'd been punched. What? That's impossible. The detective slid a folder across to her. These documents show money being diverted from the initiative into offshore accounts. Mr. Harrington's signature is on all the transfers. Madison opened the folder with shaking hands. Transaction records, bank statements, and yes, signatures that looked like Nathaniel's. But something was off. This doesn't make sense, she said. Why would he embezzle from his own project? That's what we're trying to determine, the detective said. But Miss Clark, I need to ask, did Mr. Harrington ever discuss these transfers with you? Did he ask you to help cover them up or falsify any documents? No, Madison said firmly. Absolutely not. Nathaniel wouldn't do this. He believes in this initiative. Because, the detective leaned forward. Several people have suggested that the entire sustainable packaging proposal was a front, a way to move money without scrutiny. And as his partner on the project, you're either involved or incredibly naive. Madison's world tilted. They thought she was part of it, thought she'd helped Nathaniel commit fraud. I want a lawyer, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. And I'm not answering any more questions until I have one. Smart, the detective said, standing. We'll be in touch, Miss Clark. Don't leave the city. Madison walked out of the police station in a daze. The initiative, her career, her relationship, everything was crumbling. And the worst part? She didn't know if she could still trust Nathaniel. She needed answers. Now. Madison didn't go home. She went straight to Nathaniel's penthouse, using the key he'd given her the week before. The apartment was dark, empty. She turned on lights, pacing, her mind racing. The documents had looked real. The signatures had looked authentic. But Nathaniel wouldn't do this. Would he? Doubt crept in, poisonous and insidious. She'd known him for barely a month. Fallen for him fast, maybe too fast. What if this had all been a setup? What if the promotion, the partnership, even the relationship were all part of some elaborate scheme? The door opened. Nathaniel walked in, His suit rumpled, exhaustion etched into every line of his face. When he saw Madison, relief flooded his expression. "Thank God. I was trying to call you, but they took my phone and—" He stopped, seeing her face. "Madison, what's wrong?" Madison held up the folder. This is what's wrong. Were you going to tell me you're under investigation for embezzlement? Or was I supposed to find out when the police dragged me in for questioning?" Nathaniel's face went pale. "They questioned you." "Of course they did," Madison said, her voice rising. "Because apparently everyone thinks your brilliant sustainable initiative is actually a money laundering scheme. And guess who's your partner? Guess who's going to be implicated when this explodes?" "Madison, stop," Nathaniel said, moving toward her. "This is a setup. Someone's framing me." "How convenient," Madison shot back, stepping away. "That's what everyone says when they're caught." "I saw the documents, Nathaniel. Your signature, your accounts." He ran a hand through his hair. "I know how it looks," she laughed bitterly. "It looks like I'm an idiot. Like I let you seduce me into trusting you while you were using me as cover for fraud." "That's not what happened," Nathaniel said forcefully. "Someone inside the company is setting me up. I've been trying to track down who, but they've been careful. Every trail leads back to me." "Then show me proof," Madison demanded. "Show me something, anything, that proves you're innocent. Because right now, all the evidence says you're guilty, and I'm either your accomplice or your fool." Nathaniel's eyes flashed. "You think I'd do this? Risk everything I've built, everything we have, for money I don't even need? I'm worth $3 billion, Madison. Why would I embezzle $2 million? "I don't know," Madison said, and hated how her voice cracked. "I don't know anything anymore. I thought I knew you, thought I could trust you. But maybe I was just seeing what I wanted to see." "Is that what you really believe?" he asked quietly. "That I've been lying to you this whole time?" Madison's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know what to believe. All I know is that my career is on the line, my reputation is destroyed, and the man I love is at the center of it all. The man I love." The words hung between them, raw and unplanned. Nathaniel stared at her. "You love me?" Madison wiped at her eyes angrily. Don't use that against me right now." "I need you to look me in the eye," Nathaniel said, stepping closer. "Look at me and tell me you genuinely believe I'm capable of this." Madison met his gaze. In his eyes, she saw exhaustion, frustration, and hurt. But beneath it all, she saw truth. "No," she whispered. "I don't believe it. But I'm scared, Nathaniel. Scared that believing in you will destroy me." "Then we figure this out together," he said, taking her hands. "We find whoever's doing this and we prove I'm innocent. But Madison, I need you to trust me. I need you to believe in us." Madison wanted to. God, she wanted to. But trust was terrifying when everything was falling apart. "The board meeting," she said. "It's in 2 days. We can't present with this hanging over our heads." "We present anyway," Nathaniel said. "We show them the initiative is sound, regardless of these allegations. And we buy ourselves time to investigate." Madison pulled her hands free, wrapping her arms around herself. "I need to think. I need space to figure out what's real and what's manipulation." "You're not manipulation," Nathaniel said desperately. "Madison, please." Madison held up a hand. "I'm not saying we're over. I'm saying I need a night to process this without you clouding my judgment." His face fell, but he nodded. "Okay, take the time you need. But know that I'm fighting for us. For you. Even if you're not sure you can fight for me." Madison left without looking back, because if she looked back, she'd stay. And staying meant surrendering to emotion instead of logic. At home, Sophie found her on the couch, surrounded by printed documents, laptop open, diving into financial records. "What are you doing?" Sophie asked. "Investigating," Madison said grimly. "If Nathaniel's innocent, there has to be proof, and I'm going to find it." Sophie sat beside her. "Or you could let the professionals handle it." "The professionals think I'm involved," Madison countered. "The only way to clear my name and his is to find the real culprit." For hours, Madison pored over records, tracking money trails, looking for inconsistencies. Her eyes burned, her head pounded, but she couldn't stop. Around midnight, she found it. A single transaction that didn't match the others. The timing was off by 3 minutes. The authorization code was different. Someone had copied Nathaniel's signature, but they'd made a mistake. Madison's heart raced as she dug deeper. The authorization code traced back to a specific terminal in the company. The CFO's office. Richard Westbrook, the same man who'd been dismissive at the gala. Madison's hands shook as she compiled evidence. Westbrook had access to everything. Had the authority to move funds. Had a motive, she realized, digging into recent news. His own company was failing. He'd been hired by Harrington Industries 6 months ago, just before the embezzlement started. She called Nathaniel. It was 1 a.m., but he answered on the first ring. "Madison?" "I found him," she said. "I found who's framing you." Nathaniel arrived at her apartment within 20 minutes, still in the clothes he'd been wearing earlier, looking like he hadn't slept at all. "Show me," he demanded. Madison spread out her evidence across the coffee table. "Richard Westbrook, your CFO. He's been systematically embezzling funds and forging your signature. Look at this. The authorization codes don't match company protocol. He used his own terminal but backdated the timestamps to make it look like you." Nathaniel studied the documents, his expression hardening with each page. "How did no one catch this?" "Because he's the CFO," Madison said. "He controls the audits, reviews the reports. He's been hiding in plain sight." "But why frame me? Why not just take the money and disappear?" Madison pulled up more documents. Because he needed a scapegoat. "Your company's been investigating financial irregularities for months. Westbrook knew it was only a matter of time before someone traced it back to the CFO's office. So he set you up, made it look like you were embezzling through the Sustainable Initiative, and planned to disappear once you took the fall." Nathaniel sank onto the couch, running his hands over his face. "My own CFO. I hired him, trusted him." "You couldn't have known," Madison said softly. "These people are professionals at deception." "We need to take this to the police," Nathaniel said, already reaching for his phone. "Wait," Madison grabbed his arm. "If we go to the police now, Westbrook will know we're onto him. He'll destroy evidence, maybe run. We need to catch him in the act. What are you suggesting?" Madison's mind raced. "The board meeting. It's the perfect opportunity. Westbrook will be there. We present the Sustainable Initiative as planned, showing that it's legitimate. He'll panic, thinking his frame job isn't working. Then we confront him with the evidence in front of everyone." "That's risky," Nathaniel said. "If we're wrong, I'm not wrong," Madison insisted. "I spent 8 hours verifying every piece of this. The evidence is solid." Nathaniel looked at her, something like awe in his expression. "You did this for me." "For us," Madison corrected. "Because I believe in you. Because I love you. And I'm not letting anyone destroy what we've built." Nathaniel pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. "I'm sorry," he whispered into her hair. "Sorry I brought this chaos into your life. Sorry I made you doubt me." "I'm sorry I doubted you," Madison said. "Even for a second. I should have known better." They stayed like that for a long moment, finding comfort in each other. Then Nathaniel pulled back. "We need a plan, and I need to call my lawyers." They spent the rest of the night strategizing. By dawn, They had a solid plan. Present the initiative to the board, demonstrating its legitimacy. Introduce the fraud evidence during Q&A, forcing Westbrook to react. Have police standing by to arrest him when he tried to leave. It was risky. But it was also their best shot at clearing Nathaniel's name and saving the company. Friday morning arrived too quickly. Madison dressed with deliberate care, choosing a power suit that made her feel invincible. She met Nathaniel at the office, where he was already in war mode, his expression cold and controlled. "You ready?" he asked. "To take down a criminal and save a company?" Madison smiled grimly. "Just another Friday." The boardroom was packed. Every board member, senior executives, company lawyers, and notably Richard Westbrook, looking smug and unconcerned. He nodded at Nathaniel as if nothing were wrong, as if he hadn't just tried to destroy him. Madison wanted to slap the smile off his face, but she forced herself to stay calm, to play her role. Nathaniel called the meeting to order. "Today," he said, "we're presenting our sustainable packaging initiative. But first, I'd like to address recent allegations regarding financial impropriety." The room tensed. Westbrook's smile didn't waver. "As you all know, there have been concerns about fund transfers related to this project, concerns that have been investigated by both internal and external parties." Madison stood, triggering her presentation. "What you don't know," she said clearly, "is that these concerns were deliberately manufactured to cover actual embezzlement committed by someone in this room." Murmurs rippled through the board. Westbrook's smile finally faltered. "That's a serious accusation, Miss Clark," one board member said. "It is," Madison agreed. "And I have serious evidence." She pulled up the financial records, walking them through each discrepancy, each forged signature, each trace back to Westbrook's terminal. Westbrook's face went from confused to angry to panicked. "This is ridiculous," he blustered, standing. "I'm the CFO. If there were irregularities, I'd be the first to know." "You were the first to know," Nathaniel said coldly, "because you created them." "Security," he nodded to two officers standing by the door. Detectives Morrison entered, along with another officer. "Mr. Richard Westbrook, you're under arrest for embezzlement, fraud, and forgery." Westbrook lunged for the door, but security blocked him. "You can't prove anything," he snarled. "I have lawyers." "We can prove everything," Madison said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Every transaction, every forged document, every lie. It all traces back to you." As the police handcuffed Westbrook, leading him away, the boardroom erupted in shocked conversation. Nathaniel held up a hand for silence. "I understand this is shocking, but I want to assure you that Harrington Industries remains strong. The Sustainable Packaging Initiative is sound, our finances are secure, and we will be implementing new oversight measures to ensure this never happens again." One by one, the board members nodded, reassured. Then the chairwoman spoke. "Mr. Durham Harrington, Miss Clark, that was an impressive display of investigation and courage. I move that we proceed with hearing the Sustainable Initiative proposal." "Seconded" came immediately. Madison and Nathaniel exchanged glances. Then they launched into their presentation, their preparation evident in every slide, every projection, every answer to the board's questions. By the end, the room was buzzing with excitement. The chairwoman smiled. "I move to approve the Sustainable Packaging Initiative with full funding." The vote was unanimous. As the board filed out, congratulating them, Madison felt the tension finally drain from her body. "We did it," she said to Nathaniel. "We actually did it." "We did," he agreed, but his eyes were on her, not the board. "You did it, Madison. You saved us." "I just found the truth," Madison said. "You're the one who had faith that it existed, still following the story. If you're enjoying this, leave a comment below. Outside the boardroom, Victoria Chen approached. That was masterful, she said. Both the investigation and the presentation. The press is going to love this story. Innocent CEO cleared by brilliant consultant girlfriend. Might want to workshop that headline, Madison said dryly. But thank you. That night, Nathaniel and Madison celebrated alone in his penthouse, champagne and takeout, still too wired from the day to do anything elaborate. To truth, Nathaniel toasted, and to the woman brave enough to find it. Madison clinked her glass against his, to trust, and to second chances. They drank, and Madison felt the weight of the past weeks finally lift. It wasn't over. There would be depositions, trials, media attention. But they'd faced the worst and survived. Together. 3 months later, the Sustainable Packaging Initiative launched to widespread acclaim. The company's stock soared. Industry publications praised Harrington Industries' forward-thinking approach, and Madison Clark's name became synonymous with innovation and integrity. But for Madison, the best part wasn't the professional success. It was the life she'd built with Nathaniel. They'd navigated the media scrutiny together, testimonies in Westbrook's trial, and the inevitable gossip that came with a high-profile relationship. Through it all, they'd stayed united. One Saturday morning, Madison woke in Nathaniel's bed, sunlight streaming through the windows. She'd officially moved in 2 weeks ago, though she'd been spending most nights there for months. Nathaniel was already awake, propped against the headboard with coffee and his tablet. "Working on a Saturday?" Madison asked sleepily. "Just reading," he said, setting the tablet aside. "Come here." She curled into his side and he wrapped an arm around her. "Perfect," he murmured. "This. You. U.S." Madison smiled against his chest. "Who knew you were such a romantic under all that CEO coldness?" "I didn't," Nathaniel admitted. "You taught me, along with patience, humility, and the fact that being right isn't as important as being kind." Madison pulled back to look at him. "Are you saying I've domesticated you?" "Absolutely," he said without hesitation. "I'm completely tamed. Yours entirely." "Good," Madison said, kissing him. "Because I'm not letting you go." "I should hope not," Nathaniel replied, "considering I have this." He reached into the nightstand, pulling out a small velvet box. Madison's heart stopped. "Nathaniel." "What? You thought I'd wait longer?" "It's been 3 months. 3 of the best months of my life. I don't need more time to know I want forever with you." He opened the box, revealing a stunning ring, emerald-cut diamond set in platinum, elegant and timeless. "Madison Clark, will you marry me? Will you keep challenging me, infuriating me, and making me want to be better every single day?" Madison's eyes filled with tears. "That's the worst proposal I've ever heard. It's the only proposal you'll ever get from me. So I hope the answer is yes." She laughed through her tears. "Yes, you impossible man. Yes, I'll marry you." Nathaniel slid the ring onto her finger, then pulled her into a kiss that made her forget everything except this moment, this man, this life they were building together. When they finally broke apart, Madison held up her hand, watching the diamond catch the light. "My father would have liked you," she said softly. "Even though you're exactly the kind of powerful billionaire he warned me about?" Nathaniel asked. "Especially because of that," Madison said. "Because you proved that power and wealth don't have to corrupt, that someone can be ambitious and ethical. That's all he wanted, for the people at the top to remember their humanity." "Then I'm honored," Nathaniel said sincerely. "And I promise to spend the rest of my life being worthy of his daughter." They spent the rest of the morning in bed, planning and dreaming. A small wedding, they agreed. Close friends and family. Nothing too extravagant. Though knowing their lives, Small might be relative. Around noon, Madison's phone buzzed with a call from Sophie. "You're engaged," Sophie shrieked before Madison could even say hello. "How do you know?" "We literally I have eyes everywhere," Sophie said mysteriously. Also, Nathaniel's assistant may have let it slip. "Congratulations, Madison. You deserve this." "Thanks, Soph," Madison said, smiling. "I'm happy. Really, genuinely happy." "That's all I've ever wanted for you," Sophie replied. "Now, when's the wedding? I'm already planning your bachelorette party." "We haven't even set a date yet," Madison protested. "Well, hurry up," Sophie demanded. "I have ideas, and they involve embarrassing stories about your college years." Madison laughed, feeling light and free in a way she'd never experienced before. Later that evening, Nathaniel and Madison hosted a dinner to announce their engagement. Emily, Nathaniel's sister, cried happy tears. Victoria Chen offered to manage any press coverage, and Sophie gave a toast that had everyone laughing and Madison blushing. "To Madison and Nathaniel," Sophie said, raising her glass, "two stubborn people who fell in love despite themselves. May you continue to challenge each other, support each other, and most importantly, never stop fighting for what matters." "To love and second chances," everyone chorused, drinking deeply. As the night wound down and guests departed, Madison and Nathaniel stood on his terrace, looking out over the city. From here, they could see the Harrington Industries building, its lights still blazing despite the late hour. "Remember when you kissed me to shut me up?" Madison asked suddenly. Nathaniel groaned. "Are we ever going to let me live that down?" "Probably not," Madison said cheerfully. It was incredibly inappropriate and also kind of hot. "I was desperate," Nathaniel defended. "You wouldn't stop talking, and all I could think about was how much I wanted to kiss you. So I did. Worst decision and best decision simultaneously." Madison turned to face him. "What would you have done if I'd responded differently? If I'd kissed you back instead of slapping you?" Nathaniel considered. "Probably panicked and run. I wasn't ready to confront how I felt about you. I needed you to slap some sense into me. Literally." "I'm glad I did," Madison said, "because it forced us both to be honest. No more pretending we could be just colleagues. No more hiding." Nathaniel pulled her close. "No more hiding," he agreed. "From now on, it's just us. Honest and open and together." "Forever," Madison added. "Forever," Nathaniel confirmed, sealing the promise with a kiss. As they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, the city lights twinkling below like fallen stars, Madison reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From that first confrontation in the conference room to this moment of perfect understanding, they'd fought for each other and for themselves. She'd learned that love wasn't about sacrificing ambition or dimming her light. It was about finding someone who wanted to shine alongside you. Someone who challenged you to be better while accepting you exactly as you were. Nathaniel had learned that vulnerability wasn't weakness, that letting someone in didn't mean losing control, that love, real love, was worth every risk. Together, they'd built something neither could have created alone. A partnership based on respect, trust, and an unwavering commitment to choosing each other, every single day. "What are you thinking about?" Nathaniel asked, his voice soft. "How far we've come," Madison replied. "How many obstacles we've overcome. How lucky I am that you kissed me that day." "Lucky?" Nathaniel laughed. "Most women would say, traumatized." "Most women aren't me," Madison pointed out. "I prefer my love stories with a little chaos." "Well then," Nathaniel said, his eyes gleaming, "you've come to the right place, because loving me is definitely going to be chaotic." "As long as it's real," Madison said. "That's all I need. That's all we need." They stayed on the terrace until the early hours, talking and planning and simply being together. When they finally went inside, Madison paused to look back at the view one more time. Tomorrow, they'd return to work, continue building their initiative, face whatever challenges came next. But tonight, they were just Madison and Nathaniel. Two people who'd found each other against all odds. Two people who'd chosen love.